The news broke on a warm March morning in 2026, the kind of day when the California sun hits the hills around Los Angeles with that familiar golden glare, the same light that had once lit up countless action movie sets. Chuck Norris, the six-time world karate champion, the star of Walker, Texas Ranger, the man whose name had become a punchline for invincibility across the internet, was gone at 86. A sudden medical emergency in Hawaii had taken him peacefully, surrounded by family. Tributes flooded social media within minutes. Sylvester Stallone posted a respectful photo from The Expendables 2. Jean-Claude Van Damme spoke of brotherhood in the martial arts world. Even presidents past offered words of admiration for the ultimate all-American tough guy. But one voice carried a particular weight. Arnold Schwarzenegger, at 78, posted a short, measured statement on X. Chuck was an icon. I am grateful that I was able to work with him in multiple ways over the years, from promoting fitness to sharing the screen together. He was a badass in real life and in Hollywood. His legend will be with us forever. It sounded warm, professional, exactly what fans expected from the former Mr. Olympia, turned governor, turned cinema legend, who had outlasted so many of his peers. Yet behind the polished words, something else stirred. In the days that followed, as the world replayed clips of Norris walking out of explosions or delivering deadpan one-liners about cobras dying after biting him, a few close friends and longtime associates in Arnold's inner circle began to hear a different story. Not shouted from rooftops or leaked for clicks, but shared quietly over cigars at his home in Brentwood or during long drives along the Pacific Coast Highway. At 78, with decades of bodybuilding titles, blockbuster films, and political battles behind him, Arnold finally allowed the mask to slip just enough to reveal the quiet resentment he had carried toward Chuck Norris for years. It started, as so many Hollywood stories do, with competition. Not the flashy kind that made headlines in the 1980s when Arnold and Stallone were locked in their famous box office war, but a subtler, more personal friction. Arnold had come to America from Austria with nothing but a dream and an unmatched work ethic. He built his body into a machine, won Mr. Olympia 7 times, then transitioned into films like Conan the Barbarian and The Terminator, proving that a thick accent and massive physique could still conquer Hollywood. Chuck Norris, by contrast, was already a proven champion when Arnold arrived on the scene. Undefeated in professional karate tournaments, running successful dojos, and carving out his niche in low-budget action films like Missing in Action and The Delta Force. I respected the man's discipline, Arnold said one evening, sitting by his pool as the sun dipped low, his voice still carrying that unmistakable Austrian cadence. Real respect. 6 world titles? That doesn't happen by accident. You have to train like a machine every single day. But there was always this attitude with Chuck, like his way was the only pure way. Karate, faith, family values, no compromises. He looked at the rest of us, like me, like Sly, like the guys doing steroids and wild stunts, and you could see it in his eyes. He thought we were the circus. He was the real deal. The tension had simmered beneath the surface for decades. They crossed paths at fitness expos and charity events in the 1980s and 1990s. Both were promoters of physical strength, but their approaches differed sharply. Arnold celebrated the extremes, pushing the human body to its limits, sometimes with chemical assistance he later admitted to, turning bodybuilding into spectacle. Norris preached clean living, martial arts purity, and moral clarity drawn from his deep Christian faith. On the surface, they were cordial. Behind closed doors, Arnold felt the subtle judgment. I remember one fitness convention in the late 80s. Arnold continued, a wry smile crossing his face. Chuck was there talking about how true strength comes from inside, from God and discipline, not from pumping iron for show. He didn't name me, but everyone knew who he meant. I was the guy who made bodybuilding mainstream, who turned it into entertainment. He made it sound like I was cheapening the whole thing, like my muscles were for cameras, while his were for honor. It pissed me off, because I worked harder than anyone. I came from a small village in Austria with nothing. I didn't have tournament trophies handed to me. I built everything from scratch. That undercurrent followed them into the new millennium. When the Expendables franchise brought the old action heroes together, Arnold was already a major part of it. Chuck joined for the second film in 2012, making a memorable cameo as Booker, the retired operative who steals scenes with his quiet intensity. On set, the chemistry was electric for the cameras. Off set, things felt cooler. Norris kept to himself more than the others. No wild stories, no late-night drinks with the crew. He showed up, hit his marks, delivered that famous Cobra line the fans loved, and left. Working with him on Expendables 2 was fine, Arnold admitted in one of those private conversations. He was professional, did the job, but even there, he had that holier-than-thou vibe. The rest of us were joking around, reminiscing about the old days of big explosions and bigger egos. Chuck would smile politely and steer the talk back to Faith or his charity work with kids. Like we were all a bunch of overgrown boys still playing pretend, while he was doing something meaningful. It grated on me. I had been governor of California, for God's sake. I had done more for public service than most. But to Chuck, it seemed like if you weren't teaching karate or quoting scripture between takes, you weren't serious. The clickbait-worthy edge came when Arnold reflected on the cultural phenomenon Norris became. The Chuck Norris facts memes turned him into an untouchable legend. Jokes about him not aging, about death being afraid of him, about his beard having its own zip code. Arnold found the whole thing absurd, even a little insulting to the craft they both shared. They made him into a god online, Arnold said, shaking his head. And he never really stopped it. He played along just enough to keep the myth alive. Meanwhile, I was out here making movies like True Lies and Total Recall, showing characters with real flaws, real humor, real humanity. Chuck became this cartoon superhero who never lost, never doubted. It was easy, safe. The public loved it because it gave them certainty in crazy times. But it made the rest of us look like we were trying too hard. Like our version of toughness required actual effort, sweat, and sometimes failure. It was effortless, divine, even. Arnold paused, staring out at the hills where he had trained so many mornings. I don't hate the guy. Never did. He earned his success, built schools, helped kids, lived what he believed.